Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me. Recently, I shared a Sizzix haul that I had gotten, and I asked my viewers if they had any suggestions or any products that they wanted me to share. And my friend Marcy said she'd like to see Gladys the Flamingo with the Doily embossing folder. So that is exactly what we're going to do today. So here's Gladys. She's so adorable. I pre-cut everything because it would have taken way too long to show you guys how it's done. But what's really cool about the Sizzix dies, the Colorize specifically, is that they are all embossed not only with the item number, but with the color that you should use and the number of colors you should use. So there was pink 1, pink 2, pink 3, etc. There's a yellow 1 and a yellow 2 for the beak. And it makes it really easy. Even the super teeny tiny ones that you see there at the top have the colors that are suggested that you use at the top. Now, obviously, if you don't want to use pink for Flamingo, you can make them purple, you can make them blue, whatever, you can make them fantasy colored. Here, I'm just showing that there are embossed lines to make it easier when you're lining up all of these itty bitty pieces onto your cardstock. Makes it super simple. So here I'm bringing that wing up to show you how you can find that embossed line and kind of just line it up and it fits in place. You don't have to be super crazy with them. If it's a little off, it's not the end of the world, but the lines are there to kind of help you see where everything goes. So again, if you don't want to make a pink flamingo, that's okay. You can do something else. Just substitute whatever that color is that's listed on the die for whatever color you want to use, and it'll tell you how many you need, which is really very clever. So this is a fiddly bit here. This is the leg. It goes on top of the other leg. That bottom layer of pink is actually pretty thin cardstock, but because we have so many layers building on top of it, I wasn't worried about using it. If it was just a single layer, I wouldn't have used it, but you know, all of those layers build it up to make it nice and sturdy. So here's another fiddly bit. This is the other leg. When I get new dies, especially if they're semi-complicated, even if they're not, I tend to just cut them at least once out of white or whatever they're kind of, quote, intended to be cut with. So in this case, pink for the flamingo and all of that. And I do it pretty much how it is on the packaging without altering it or going crazy and like embellishing, adding inks and all of that, because I like to see how it goes together. I sometimes get a little overwhelmed with tricky dies, and honestly, even basic dies. Sometimes it's like, okay, so I see the picture on the package. What am I going to do with it? How is it really going to look in real life? And even if the packaging is superb and all of that, just like this packaging is, you see exactly what Gladys looks like, I still feel more comfortable when I have the finished product in my hand, even if it's like a frame, just because I'm a visual person and I'm a tactile person also. And I like to be able to feel and see exact sizes and all of that stuff. And I just find it to be easier. So once I make something once or I cut it out once, I get a little bit more confident with it and I can move on and kind of start to play and experiment and embellish and do things differently than what's shown on the package and kind of push the envelope a little bit, as it were. So here I'm putting the eyes together. These are super fiddly, these parts. So I've got my jewel picker out and I'm carefully adding these pieces. In the picture, there's like kind of an under piece to the eye. I omitted that. I kind of like it without. So even though I just went through this whole spiel with you about how I keep things unaltered and all of that, that I did alter. I just didn't put them on there. Right now I'm using my pokey tool to kind of try and get the lashes on. Sometimes what I do is, you know, I try to just poke it through and hit it right where it's supposed to be, but it was a little tricky to do that here. So I kind of missed a little bit. But with the pupils, I do a much better job. So I'm going to try and line up the pupils and just kind of scooch it over with my pokey tool so that I don't have to try picking it up with my fingers or my tweezers or anything like that. Look how cute she is. Seriously. She is just adorable. I love her. As I mentioned in my Sizzix haul video, I'm a big fan of flamingos. So here's the other component that Marcy had wanted to see with Gladys, and it's the Doily embossing folder. It is gorgeous. It reminds me a lot of my mom. She crochets and she loves doilies. So of course we've got to use Kitsch Flamingo, and of course I don't want to just use the embossing folder as is. So I opened the folder up and I am going to add ink to the top side where the writing is. That's what I just kind of showed there on screen. The top side is going to get Kitsch Flamingo rubbed on top. Don't push super hard. One of the things I really like about Distress inks is that it's a felt pad. So while it can be juicy, it's not as juicy as, like, say, foam pads sometimes are. So you have less of a chance of squishing ink into the crevices. Look at how cool that looks. I did spritz the back of this with water. It's Strathmore Smooth Bristol cardstock, just to help it kind of run through the folder a little bit better. Breaks up the fibers a bit, makes things kind of just emboss a bit better. To highlight the fact that we're working with a flamingo, I wanted to take my VersaFine Clair ink in Nocturne, which is the most rich, beautiful black, and I went around the edge with that just to kind of, enhance Gladys a little bit. I've got that white piece of paper there only so that you can see the card base a little bit better because it's hard to see it on my black mat. I've got a sentiment from Clearly Besotted's Fluffy Flamingos. Unfortunately, the set is no longer available. There are a lot of flamingo sets out there. I believe there's a different flamingo set from Clearly Besotted that is still available. I know Lawn Fawn has flamingo sets, but I went with the Tickled Pink to Have You in My Life. I thought that was really appropriate for this card. And I stamped that with, or I'm going to stamp it, sorry. I'm going to stamp it with more of the Nocturne ink. What I did there was just, attach my layers together a little bit. So I've got a piece of white scrap paper, just a little strip that I have left over. Got my ink, I've got a little block, and I'm going to just line it up, take a deep breath, and stamp that baby down and hope that it came out good, and it did. So now what I'm going to do is just trim it down with my Tonic and Tim Holtz Guillotine paper trimmer. And now we're going to just add a little bit more, or cut a little bit more off the side, just so that I have it nice and even. So here, where's Gladys? There she is. Gladys is back. And I decide that it's not enough. I decided that I wanted to have more happening with that sentiment. It needed to stand out a little bit more. So I've got my black cardstock again. I shouldn't say again. This is the first time I'm grabbing black cardstock. I'm thinking about the card base. It's not a black card base, Al. We inked it. So I'm trimming this black down, and I'm going to make it a nice border. Now, the way you see it here is a little bit wider than I like. You're going to see it on the card in a second, but I do off screen kind of trim it down a little bit more. I didn't want such a fat edge around it because I thought it was taking away from Gladys and how fine she is. She's got those thin legs, she's not a very big girl. She's tall, but that's about it. So I thought that a thinner black mat around that sentiment would be better. I love how this is coming out. Marcy, this was such a great idea. Thank you so much for suggesting it. I love the pairing of these two Sizzix elements together. Look how cute that is. You don't even need to do anything else to this, folks. It's just great the way it is. And while it may take a little while to put Gladys together, it comes out so cute, and it's really not super time consuming. And I love using embossing folders with ink. I think it really enhances them. It just gives them a really cool effect. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have anything that you'd like me to do from that Sizzix haul or something else that you've seen me work with before, let me know in the comments. I'm definitely open to suggestions. I will see you all very soon. Be well, stay safe. Peace out.